Hey guys, it's your girl Denise, and I know what you're thinking. You're late. I know, but work has just been beating my butt so bad. I even got the lucky money bags, okay? But I'm gonna review Joseline's Cabaret season 4, episode 7, the filler episode. But even though there's not much going on, I can see the value in some of the one-liners that some of the girls say. So we're gonna get into it today. So the episode starts off with Jocelyn talking to Ballistic per usual, and Jocelyn starts talking about how she thinks the girls are trying to start the fights and make Jocelyn mad so she can leave the 4 girls who did make it to the Miami Cabaret. But I don't think that's true. I feel like if the girls wanted to sabotage, they would just fight one of the 4 girls who made it into the cabaret and injure them so they couldn't perform. Like, females are catty, so they're just gonna fight just to fight. Trust me. And then Jocelyn also brings up how she thinks Miss Natural is toxic, which I do agree. Miss Natural can be toxic. I feel like she gets a little too emotional about little things, but Jocelyn also has to acknowledge that she too is toxic. She brings a lot of negative energy to this cabaret by talking down to the girls. And maybe if she didn't talk down to the girls so much, the girls would have more respect for one another and they would fight less. But that's just my guess. I don't know. Because the cabaret girls are really following Jocelyn at the end of the day. Jocelyn needs to lead by example. And can somebody please tell her it doesn't matter if you have built an empire or have reality TV show money, you just can't be toxic. We then cut to Precious, T Love, Holiday, and Egypt having a conversation outside. And not Holiday calling T Love Mayweather. Like, you know you're lying. But then they start talking about the events that happened the night before. And it's like these girls really don't be knowing what's going on in the house. Like, we know because we see the cameras, but some of these girls are not in the scenes in which the drama takes place. So they really have to sit there and talk about what happened. So when Egypt starts explaining what happened with Daisy, I thought it was very telling that Holiday kept putting like her head down when they were talking about Daisy. She kept like just saying like, "Oh man, not Daisy." Like, just kept looking away, kept putting her head down. So maybe there's some kind of like friendship between Holiday and Daisy off camera that we don't know about. Cause it was one of those facial expressions when it's like you know that your friend is wrong, but you don't want to say anything. So I know for when Daisy comes back, I have to watch Egypt and Daisy a little bit more closely now to see what their relationship is. The girls also start talking to Egypt about her alopecia, and you can see that Egypt is visibly getting annoyed. I mean, Egypt always looks annoyed, but it seems like she's had alopecia ever since she was a little girl. So I can't imagine having to explain that to everybody ever since you were little. But I'm not convinced that she's particularly friends with any of the girls in this house. I feel like she just has to put up with them just for the moment. And I like how in one moment Precious is on the side, fully dressed, right? And then when the next time we cut to her, she is completely naked already. So the girls were definitely talking about something in between those two cut scenes because if you listen closely and if you watch closely, you see Holiday gets up and she starts walking towards Precious and she says, "I want to say sorry for yesterday." And she has her arms out, like walking towards Precious, getting ready to hug her. And it just seemed like Precious was just trying to hurry up and get out the scene. To me, Precious doesn't seem like she likes to be in the same room as Holiday. Like, you never see her standing next to Holiday. She's always on the opposite end of where Holiday is, as we'll see even in the later scenes of this episode. But just the way that she got naked so fast and just ran away, I feel like Precious tries to avoid getting emotional with Holiday around. We then cut to Spin, Abby, and Wet Wet also talking outside, and they're talking about T Love. And they're asking Wet Wet how is she going to be able to work with T Love in the future if they can't get past their issues. And if you notice, Wet Wet says that T Love isn't going to last much longer. And then Wet Wet also says that her spot is secured. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, what have the producers been whispering in Wet Wet's ear? Are more girls gonna get the boot? Or they get to stay for the show and the cameras, but they're not gonna perform in the cabaret. And then Abby and Spin, they don't follow up with that question. So we're just gonna have to wait and see for ourselves what Wet is really trying to say. We then cut to the four cabaret girls on the private jet with Joseline. And yes, I'm saying private jet, okay? Not PJ. I don't know why that's so annoying, but I just hate PJ. But anyways, if you notice, Yummy calls Danny and Andrea her two good friends. So at least they're able to get along. But I feel like it's more telling on Miss Natural. And Miss Natural is just going crazy in this scene. And she's just going off on the girls, talking about how she's the only one that has the dance, which I'm not too convinced. I feel like the other girls got the dance, but like, have you ever practiced something over and over again? Like, I know when I was practicing piano, the more I practiced, it seemed like the worse I got at it for some reason. But then I just needed to take a break and sleep on it, and then I would finally get the song. So I feel like it's the same thing with these girls. Like, obviously Danny is doing a really good job, otherwise she wouldn't get the presidential suite that Miss Natural is complaining about. But Miss Natural keeps talking about how she's the best one, and the girls are they're kind of like co-signing, especially Andrea, who's like shaking her head yes. But Danny is just quiet on the other hand, which is a cosign if you're not going to stick up for yourself and defend yourself against Miss Natural. So I think all of that is going to Miss Natural's head. And then in this clip where Andrea just starts crying and then Miss Natural's just twerking in the background, I was just like, what is happening right now? I don't understand what's wrong with Andrea, honestly. Like, she's just a big baby. And she can't say that it's because she's 24, because we're the same age. I'm not crying on no plane in front of strangers I don't know. In the next scene, we have Spin and Lucky having a conversation in what I guess is Lucky's bedroom. My poor girl, she still doesn't have a bed. That's the couch that she's been sleeping on. But I think Lucky needs to make friends quickly, because otherwise, if the other girls get a feeling that Jocelyn doesn't want Lucky around, they will take that opportunity to turn against her. Because Spin is already talking about how she doesn't think that it's fair that Lucky gets to come back. But my thing is that half of you girls can't dance and don't even deserve to be on the show. So if you guys can stay on the show, Lucky should be able to stay on the show. But that's what happens when you can't dance. You have to deflect onto somebody else, right? So that you can secure your spot and then you can stay if it came down to it. So Lucky better be careful. Now, even with that, Lucky still takes it upon herself to lead rehearsals. And man, I don't think these girls are ever going to learn the routine. If I'm being honest, because you're constantly depending on somebody else to teach you the routine, or depending on Miss Natural to lead the class. It's like you need to teach yourself and learn it for yourself. But shout out to Spin, because I do notice that she is getting better, and I think she might have a shot at the next cabaret. Maybe it was a little bit of foreshadowing from Abby earlier when she said that Spin would be able to bring her skates to the cabaret. So I hope that does happen and we get to see it. The other girls still look the same. They're still trash. Now, cutting back to the girls on the plane, we get Yummy being loud and Natural just spazzing out on her again. But my thing is this, Natural, you're being just as loud as Yummy is when you are yelling at her to shut up. Like, that didn't make sense to me. Plus, Jocelyn is in the background. She's like 5 feet away. You're telling me that she can't hear Yummy and tell Yummy to shut up for herself? Like, there's no divider, there's no curtain separating the two parts of the plane. So Ms. Natural, I think she's just acting out just to get Jocelyn's validation and her attention again. And you know you're doing too much when even Ricardo says something. But I can see why Yummy is annoying, because it's like when you call her out on her behavior, she then wants to act like she's not doing anything wrong. Because she was just like, What are you talking about? What are you on about? There's something overall childish about Yummy with the whole bubbles, and even her outfit is giving like a Bratz doll. She looks cute, but it's like she's like in her 30s, I think. Like not even Andrea is acting like that. I like how these girls are always just like, "Oh, you're gonna make Jocelyn mad. Jocelyn's gonna get angry at us." Da 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 da. Da." But then Jocelyn's always in the background just chilling. She don't care. Like back in the day, Jocelyn would get upset and say something, but this season she's just more relaxed. She's more calm. She even tells Natural to calm down and try to get along with the girls. And even in this clip, you can still hear the girls in the background like as clear as day. So I feel like if Jocelyn was really bothered, she would have been said something. Miss Natural didn't have to do all that crazy stuff. And Miss Natural's just snitching so fast on Yummy to get Jocelyn's validation. Like that's childish too. So then we cut back to the girls in the house. They're taking a break now from rehearsals and they're playing games, trying to socialize and get to know each other better. They start off doing impressions. And I just think it's funny when Abby was doing the impression of Spin, T Love called her Skater. It's like these girls, they don't even know each other's names. How are you going to tell me that they're friends or that they like each other? Then the girls also start to play Two Truths and a Lie. I just want to point out how when it was Egypt's turn and she said one of her truths was that she had an orgy, the editors start playing a cricket noise. Like, I don't think it was necessary, and that just adds to the list of beefs that I have with this editor. Also, when the episode opened up, like the first B-roll shot was of a cemetery. Like, that just left a poor taste in my mouth. But y'all already know how much I hate the editor, so I digress. We then get to Wet Wet's part, where one of her truths is that she didn't know who the baby daddy of her child is, and that she only knew when she saw the baby cross its arms like this. And she hasn't gotten a paternity test, but apparently the child looks just like the father. So, and that's what all the other girls are hung up on, which I don't know. I grew up watching Maury, so I feel like that's not too unusual that you don't know who your baby daddy is. But I feel like she should at least get a paternity test just to be safe. And who knows, they might see this episode and be like, that might not be my child. You should have been upfront about that very early on. But that's what was business. I'm more hung up on the fact that she was having sex with a man outside in the back of the house while the baby mama was sleeping inside on the couch, which is probably the same man who she was talking about has 8 kids and it's not the baby of her father because she would rather have a baby daddy who doesn't currently have any kids. Like, I don't know, man. Some females, like, we just need to hold ourselves to higher standards. We need to have better standards, please. But you can see Egypt is getting really annoyed and shuts Wet Wet up and I guess dismisses everybody to dinner. And I just think that Egypt is so unfriendly for like someone who claims to be a lesbian and doesn't like to fight girls or pretty girls, but fought a pretty girl last episode and just generally doesn't get along with the rest of the girls. Like, she's just always has an attitude and she's so unfriendly. I don't feel like she's an asset to the show. I personally don't care for her. I feel like if she's so annoyed, then she could just pack her bags and go home or just like stay in your room. But she'd just be a whole mood killer sometimes, and we didn't even get to hear Abby's or Precious's two lies and a truth. And that concludes this episode. So I basically feel like this episode could have just been cut and we could have just fast forwarded to the Floyd Mayweather fight. This season in general hasn't been as entertaining as the previous seasons, and I feel like there was poor casting choices made this season with some of the new girls. So at least maybe the Mayweather episode would be worth our time. Now in the previews for episode 8, we have Holiday, just another cast member who has ran somebody over with their car. There's not much to say except I'm just disappointed at this point. Then we have Miss Daisy coming back And Egypt is obviously in her feelings. She already has an attitude, and she like walks away at the end of that preview clip. It seems like another party night, and the girls are really gassing up wet wet in these clips. So we just know it's going to be entertaining. I just hope it's coming from a place of actual fun and they're not trying to out her or bully her. And then we get the actual performance. I feel like the girls' outfits are a little plain and boring. And Andrea and Yummy kind of have like the same hairstyle going on. So it's going to be a little hard to tell them apart. But I think that's Andrea that is fighting with Big Legs. And this clip is insane because I thought it was just the girls and Joseline fighting with Big Legs. I didn't think it was like the whole stadium going crazy. Like I thought they were just fighting backstage. And not Yummy calling Big Legs an op. Like Yummy, you better have thrown at least one punch. Cause you acting a little too gangster for this confessional for me. So I'm excited for next week. Hopefully I'm on time for next week. No promises, but I will try my best. But I'm going to have a lot to break down. I'll see y'all next week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the likes in the comments. I really appreciate you guys. Bye.